my name's Miranda and welcome to another video. And today I'll be doing my TBR for this year's OWLs Readathon in April. And this year, G from Book Roast, who is the creator of this readathon, I will leave the link to the announcement video for this year's readathon down below. She's gone all out this year and she actually created a booklet of careers to pick from so you knew which OWLs you had to take for the careers you wanted in the wizarding world and which ones you'll need then later for your newts. So I did go through this booklet and I did pick out a career. And I will be honest, my choice of career was also based on the fact that I do know I'm not going to have a lot of time to read, as April is when my dissertation is due. I must finish it before the end of April. But I still did like the sound of this career, so it was just very lucky that it also happened to have the fewest amount of books. Well, subjects for the OWLs. And the career I chose is an aurologist, who is someone that reads auras. I like the sound of this career. I think it sounds really cool, and if I was in the wizarding world, I was a witch going to Hogwarts, this looks like something I'd probably consider. Alright, so I did choose for every single category except for one I just could not find a book for that I could think of, but other than that I chose for every category. I will be focusing on the career of chosen before anything else though. So for aurologist there are 3 subjects. The first is astronomy, and that is a title with the word star in the cover. So I don't really know if I'm cheating or not with this, but I took out a book on my e-reader from the online library, and I took out Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. I think it counts. It does have in there a Star Wars story, so it has star in the title. Oh yeah, also this is by Alexander Freed. There's really nothing else on my TBR that has star in the title. This is the closest I could get, so I'm going to put it that it counts because I also really want to read this. This will also officially be the first Star Wars book I shall read from beginning to end because I have yet to finish a Han Solo book. The next category is divination, and that is a book that is set in the future. So it has come to my attention that for the readathons, mangas, graphic novels, comics do count. So for this one, I'm actually reading a one-shot manga. A one-shot manga is essentially, I guess, same as a novella. It's just a shortened version. It's just one chapter. And this is one I had read many, many years ago. I think the last time I read it was maybe end of high school or maybe even the first year of my university career. I don't really remember. But it has been quite a few years since I read it, and when I came across this, I couldn't think of anything else that I could easily get my hands on or that I already had that was set in the future. But I thought of this, I remember it's been a very long time since I read it, so I thought I'd reread it and see how my thoughts have changed on it. And it is Personate by Komi Naoshi. And what this one shot is it is set in a future where everyone has to wear these masks. It is mandated by the government, everyone must do it, but there is one man who absolutely refuses to do so. And the story centers around him meeting I believe it's a reporter. Again, it's been many, many years since I read this, but I am looking forward to rereading it, and I will be reading this online. I read all of my manga online. That's the easiest way for me to read it. Alright, and the third and final subject to focus on for me to become an aurologist is History of Magic. So for this I have to read a book that was published at least 10 years ago, which was a little bit harder for me than I thought it should have been because most of the books I have access to have only really been published in like maybe, I don't know, the last 4 years. But I decided to continue with the series. I had started back when I was a kid, and I started up again about, I'm gonna say, at least 1.5 to 2 years ago. I've also taken this book out from the online library, and it is the second book of the Chronicles of Prydain series by Lloyd Alexander, which is The Black Cauldron. Yes, this name probably sounds familiar to some people. It is also the same name as a Disney movie. This Disney movie is actually based on the first 2 books of that series, The Book of Three and The Black Cauldron. I know this because I read Book of Three, and I think I read Black Cauldron when I was a lot younger, but I don't really remember what happened in it, and I never read the other 3 books in this series. I would like to finish this series. I do remember enjoying it, and unlike a lot of other people it seems, I actually quite like the Disney movie Black Cauldron. It was scary when I was a kid, but it's really fun to watch now. And for those of you who haven't heard of this series at all, The Chronicles of Prydain is... One sec. Alright, I'm trying to find a good descriptor, and it's not going well. Alright, I'm gonna do the best that I can to explain this. So essentially, The Chronicles of Prydain are high fantasy novels for children. And it takes heavy inspiration from Welsh mythology and the Mabinogion? I really hope I said that right. Which I do actually have a copy of. So I guess now I can read it and see just how much of an inspiration it is. And in particular, I do know that these books follow the character of Taran, who is, as anyone who's seen the movies will remember, and is in the first book as well, he's an assistant pig keeper. You also then get the character of Elanwi, and the bard, who I've completely forgotten, and Gurgi, which I don't remember exactly what he is. And then of course the dreaded Horned King. The series is quite a few years old. I believe it was first published in the 1960s, so it definitely fits in this category. And I'll be reading book 2, like I said, The Black Cauldron, and this follows events after everything that happened in the Book of 3, which I do remember a good majority of it. On second thought, maybe I might just end up reading the Book of 3 all over again. Alright, so those are the 3 main books I will be focusing on for this readathon, because those are the ones for the career that I have picked. However, as anyone who goes to university will be told, it is usually recommended that you pick a backup career. So I thought it'd be fun to do that as well, and my backup career is a librarian. Yeah, I know, probably the next best thing for me. So librarian has 5 subjects, one of which is the same as orologist, so there's really only 4 more subjects. The first one is Ancient Runes, which is a retelling, and again, this will be on my e-reader. I don't quite have it yet, but I should be getting it from the library within the first 2 weeks of April. And the book is called Unmarriageable by Sonia Kamala. I'm almost entirely positive I mispronounced that somewhere. But what this is a Pride and Prejudice retelling set in modern-day Pakistan. That's what I remember. I should probably double check. Yes, I was right. It is a modern-day retelling of Pride and Prejudice set in Pakistan. I've mostly watched Pride and Prejudice retellings. I haven't quite read many. I know there's one I've been reading for probably the last couple months, but I'm not that interested in it. I kind of just read it as I find time to do it because I do want to know how it ends, and that's about it. But for the most part, I'm pretty dedicated to the original story, so I don't usually read retellings. But this one sounded really, really interesting. I do have that if it does not come in time, I have a backup. And that is Pride by Ibby... Oh god. I should just never be allowed to pronounce most people's names because I just seem to always get it incorrect. Pride by Ibby Zboy, which I probably mispronounced as well. And that is another Pride and Prejudice retelling, this time set in modern-day Brooklyn. I have that on my e-reader. I purchased it. There was a sale. So if Unmarriageable does not come in on time, I will be reading Pride instead. Alright, the next subject under librarian is arithmancy, and that is a work written by more than one author. So this one was a lot more challenging because most of the books I do want to read that are by one or more author that is not an anthology are under very long waits from the online library, so that wasn't going to work. So I decided to go with another manga. This is also one I read. I think the last time I read it was maybe my second year of university. But it is an old favorite of mine, and I think it'd be fun to reread the first volume. So I'm going to reread Shukokara Volume 1 by Peach Pit. Before anyone says, but that's only one author. Plot twist, Peach Pit is 2 people. There, more than one author. I'm going to say it counts. Shukokara follows a large cast of pretty much kids who all have these little mini flying around character things that are born from their hearts that are meant to be their inner selves, and they're known as, I think they're known as Karas. It's been a very long time. But they're their inner characters, they're this egg born from their heart. It's very whimsical, very magical, it's adorable. The main character is Amu, who instead of just having 1 character though, she has 3. And these 3 characters mark her as being rather special, so the school council of her middle school, is it middle school or is it elementary? Actually, I think it might have been elementary. Oh god, I don't remember. But either way, her school's council invites her to become a new council member only because she has these 3 characters rather than 1. Because plot twist, everyone on the school council has one of these. The council's main job is they're trying to protect people's dreams and aspirations, essentially their inner character. They're keeping them from becoming these things known as X-eggs, which are just annoying little nuisances that they then have to battle and attempt to transform back into a normal heart egg. It's whimsical, it's cute, it's adorable. I will be more than happy to reread Volume 1 for this. And again, I will be reading it online. Alright, so the third subject for a librarian is Defense Against the Dark Arts. And the category for this is based on the spell reducto, so you must read a book with a title starting with the letter R. And I think I remember hearing or reading somewhere that if there is a the in front and whatnot, and then an R, it does still count. So I'm really hoping my pick does work, because if it doesn't, I don't really know what I'm going to do. I might have something on my e-reader as a backup. If I don't, I'm just going to forget this category altogether. Before this, I picked These Rebel Waves by Sarah Rash. So I'm going to say that these is essentially somewhat similar to the, cause whatnot, and then hopefully the first then letter can be the R in rebel. If I am wrong, I apologize. I will try and fix that, but until then, we're gonna go with it. And I do kind of want to read it. These Rebel Waves is set in a fantasy world that is, from my understanding, also based around the time of the Spanish Inquisition. So there's similar events going on in this world. And it follows three main characters, one of whom is a pirate. Yeah, it's been a while since my last pirate read. I think I need one. But I am looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to see exactly what happens to these characters, because it sounds like they're attempting to change a world's view against magic. At least one of them most definitely is. The other one, it seems they're pretty okay with it, which means everyone hates her people. So I'm interested to see how that dynamic plays out. Also, I do agree with this little tagline, a little magic is revolutionary. Alright, the fourth category is History of Magic, which I already have a pick for, so that's done. And then the fifth and final subject for librarian is Transfiguration. So this is a book with sprayed edges or a red cover, and I was so excited that this was a category, because that meant I can put one of my most anticipated releases on my TBR for this readathon. And that is Blood Witch by Susan Dennard, because it's a very red, it's red, okay? It's red. It's red. Just let me have this. Please let me have this. I'm so excited for this book. Cannot say too much about it because, as I stated in my Blood Witch Hangover Kit unboxing, it is the third in the series, but the fourth in the reading sequence, so saying too much about it is going to give away what happens in, like, 2 of the other books at least. But in general, the Witchland series does follow a cast of characters. The 2 main ones are Safi and Ilsut. I'm still convinced I'm mispronouncing that. Safi is a truth witch, which means many people would like to get a hold of her powers. Ilsut is a thread witch, but she is not very good at it. And both of them have now been entangled into a world that is now slowly descending into war. And then this book in particular, I am mostly assuming based on the title, is following my favorite character of the series, Aduin the Blood Witch. I love him, okay? I enjoy morally gray characters. They are my thing. Also, he is the stabby character of the series, which means he's already one of the best characters. So this is my pick for Transfiguration. I really want to read this, and I want it to be prioritized a little bit because of how much I want to read this. Like, my goal is to read this next month. Like, this is on my TBR no matter what. So I'm glad it could be part of the readathon more officially. Alright, so if you notice the suddenly appearing electrical cord, my camera was dying. I need to get better at remembering to plug it in to charge it before I decide to record. Anyway, so those are the books that have been chosen for my career and my backup career path plan if I was a Hogwarts student, which still leaves 5 subjects. And as I said, I have chosen books for the rest of them. That way I have something for all of the 12 subjects. Except for one, because I eventually just gave up and couldn't be bothered. I couldn't really think of anything, and I wasn't entirely sure about some books fitting, so I gave up and decided that if I can get to this category, I'll find a book for it. I do have a tentative choice for it, but that's about it. And it's actually the first one I'll be discussing. And that is Care of Magical Creatures, which the book has to have a land animal on the cover. Yeah, most of the stuff I want to read have, they have birds. Lots of birds. I have heard, though, that apparently a dragon counts. I think I read that on the Magical Readathon Twitter somewhere. So if it does, my tentative choice is a book on my e-reader called The Rise of Dragons by Morgan Rice. But that's not entirely confirmed. And as I said, this is probably going to be the last thing I read, so I'm only going to get to it if I have time anyway, which I don't really think I'm going to. Next subject is charms, and this one is also based on a spell, same as Defense Against the Dark Arts, and that spell is Age Line. That is read an adult work. So adult fiction is usually not what I read, but I actually have something that fits. I'm going to be reading Milkman by Anna Burns for this category. This was actually given to me as a gift. I do like the sound of this book. I think it sounds pretty cool, so I am looking forward to reading it, and luckily it fits one of the categories for this readathon. And I'm just going to read the back because I'll tell you right now, I am not going to describe this book very well. In this unnamed city, to be interesting is dangerous. Middle sister is busy attempting to keep her mother from discovering her maybe boyfriend and to keep everyone in the dark about her encounter with Milkman. But when first brother-in-law sniffs out her trouble and rumors start to swell, middle sister becomes interesting. The last thing she ever wanted to be. To be interesting is to be noticed, and to be noticed is dangerous. So this is definitely not something I would have picked up on my own, but I love the fact that I do have this. So I am looking forward to it. I don't have any idea what I'm going to think of it. Most books I have a general idea reading the back of what I might think about it. This one I have no idea. It does kind of make me think of The Giver a little bit, but for the most part I don't really have much to compare it to. So we're just gonna go with it. Alright, so the next subject is herbology, and that is to read a book with a plant on the cover. And this is going to be on my TBR once again, so let's see if I actually make it to it. The Wicked Cometh by Laura Carlin. I really want to read this. I do. I really do. This book sounds fantastic. It sounds kind of dark, sounds like kind of freaky, and it is a historical fiction, and I do kind of enjoy historical fiction. So I am genuinely looking forward to this, and I keep putting it on my TBR with the intent of reading it, but I never do, either because I just don't have time, or I get something from the library on my e-reader, and library books have always taken priority for me because I have to return those. I don't have to return stuff that I own. So this book is set in 1831 and follows the character of Hester, who is, in this book, later taken under the wing of a lady in a much more well-to-do family. Hester and the woman whose name is Rebecca? Yeah, Rebecca. Hester and the woman Rebecca are then pulled into a sinister investigation, especially after whispers about Hester's past life begin to surface and poison this new life she is finding amongst the aristocracy. So we got some mystery, we got some sinisterness, so I'm not entirely sure everything that's going to be happening in this. I have heard from a couple reviews that this is also maybe an LGBTQ book, but to be honest, beyond the little descriptor in here, there really isn't much I know about it. Like, this was a cover buy essentially for me. It sounded interesting, but this is the biggest reason I ended up purchasing it. I have no regrets. Alright, down to the last two subjects. Alright, so we have Muggle Studies, which is a contemporary, and I'm going to read the last book in the Crazy Rich Asian trilogy, and that is Rich People Problems by Kevin Kwan. That will be on my e-reader, hopefully. I'm on hold for this book, and if my calculations are correct, I should be getting my hands on this by mid-April. I have suspended my hold for the last month because of my dissertation work. I did not have time to read it, so I suspended it because the wait list for it is ridiculously long, that as soon as it did come in, I didn't want to just lose it. This is the third and final book of the Crazy Rich Asians trilogy, so this is definitely, at least what I think, it's going to be a lot more opulent. It's the last book, it's going to go out with a bang. But this book follows Rachel and Nicholas after all the events of the first two books. Nicholas's grandmother, who is the owner of the Grand Estate, she's very sick. And a couple of his scheming cousins are trying to keep him away from her so that he doesn't get any part of the inheritance, because she's still not very happy with him for the events of the first book. Yeah, that's about as much as I know about it. I'm just expecting a lot of opulence and a lot of like soap opera drama. So it promises to be a fun read if nothing else. And then the last subject in my miscellaneous little category of if I can get to it I will, which I'm really hoping I do, is potions. And that is next ingredient to read a sequel. So for this, and again, took out on my e-reader from the online library, I'm on a wait list, and if my calculations are correct, I'll be getting it mid-April. That is Crooked Kingdom by Leigh Bardugo, the sequel to Six of Crows. And after reading Six of Crows last month, I am really hoping I do get this book. And again, as with Crazy Rich Asians, I don't really want to let it expire, because while the waitlist might not be as outrageously long as the Crazy Rich Asian trilogy books, it's still pretty ridiculous. I would like to point out I did put that book on hold almost immediately after I finished Six of Crows, because that was how long the hold list was. Side note though, I did also suspend this hold because, again, I wasn't able to read it at the time when it looked like it was about to become available. And if it looks like it's gonna happen again, I will be suspending it again. So there you have it. Those are my definite 11 and possibly 12th books that I will be reading for the OWLs Magical Readathon this year in April. Also, thanks to the extra credit Magical Readathon Christmas at Hogwarts edition, I get to start 3 days early. So that means instead of starting on April 1st, I will be starting on the 29th of March. So that might actually help me a little bit. I might finish maybe the mangas pretty early. And then of course I'll get to the ones that are for Aurologists first, and then into the ones for Librarian, and then if I have time, I'll do my miscellaneous category. Which I'm going to say once again, my chances of it aren't that great, because my dissertation is due and I have to have that done. That is worth so much of my grade, and I would like to graduate. But no matter what, I'm going to have fun with this. I'm going to read some books that I am most definitely looking forward to, especially this. And you know what I think for my little ending? I'm just gonna have my wand because I can. So thank you so much for watching, and if you like this video, please be sure to click that like button down below. And if you want to see more videos by me, both bookish and travel related, please be sure to click that subscribe button down below. And I'll see you next time. Bye!